Welcome to your Daily 5 for Monday, April 15th, 2024. If you've listened to the show for a while, you probably know that when it comes to all of the various technologies that are often incorrectly labeled with the term AI, and I say incorrectly because AI does not exist in the way that most people perceive it, but whatever, I'm just going to go with it because it's easier for people to understand and it's just everywhere. So many of the, or almost all the technologies that are under that AI umbrella are uninteresting to me. I neither think that they're going to transform the world as we know it, and I also don't think they're going to bring about the end of all creativity and jobs. I think, as I've said before, those are extreme positions. But I'm largely disinterested in most of them. I mean, I use technically some of Adobe's features with this very, very minimally here and there, but I don't even do much with that. And everything else has just seemed like either a toy or a novelty or useless to me. And that was my initial impression of a device called the Humane AI Pin, which when they did the original demo for it, I didn't think there was anything special about it. I actually was kind of surprised it was even released, but it has now been released. The review embargo went down last week, and there have been a number of reviews on it. And in particular, I would refer you to two, which of course I'll link in the show notes. One by Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, who I've had on the show before and have a great deal of respect for, and I know he has interest in a lot of technologies I don't, so I always watch his stuff just because I like to see what he thinks about it. And that led me to then, based on watching that one, I thought, I want to watch another review by this. So I watched one by, I believe, David Pierce, if I'm getting the name right. It'll be in the link anyway, but who did the review for The Verge. And importantly, both of their reviews are very similar in terms of their desire for this thing to fulfill the promise that it made and the reality that it just cannot in any way, can't even get really close to it. But the thing that was surprising to me was in watching the two of them, a device that honestly I had no interest in started to become interesting to me, not in its stated goal of allowing you to disconnect from the world, because it's still a connected device, you're still connecting to it, you're not disconnected, but in the fact that especially Michael Fisher made the correlation, which is pretty obvious, and I'm sure other people have. I'm just a dummy and I didn't put it together right away. But when he was talking about the Star Trek communication badge and what the Humane AI Pin could do, and when he was giving some examples of what he wished worked better, I started to see some of the value in having something, a small connected device that you could ask to identify things, that you could set reminders with, a lot of the things that honestly didn't work in the reviews, but that the company is promising. Whether those promises will ever be fulfilled or not, I don't know. But there is something about it that now is interesting to me. I think the biggest shame of this is that they released it in this state. This is a terrible device to release in its current form because almost universally the reviews are not good because it doesn't work properly all the time. This should have been released in a limited batch to developers, to people who were willing to put up with the bugs of it, to iron a lot of these problems out, or at least identify the pain points. To release this as a consumer device, I mean, watch these reviews. This thing does not work, I would say, based on what they were showing, 60 to 70% of the time, does not work properly. And then that other 30%, it seems almost magical, but if you can't count on a device, it is effectively useless. But putting all that aside, looking at the aspirational, not their aspirations, but it's interesting because both the reviewers didn't really take too much time on what the company said it wanted to do, but what they thought the device could be. And there is something in there that is now interesting to me. I'm not going to spend $700 on this thing, no way. But if it was a little bit cheaper and worked far better, I would probably give the thing a shot because there is something there. There is something compelling in the fact that they have this very small device that just sits there and that you can ask questions and that, in theory, if it worked properly, would give you information. There is something to that where, again, when I first saw this thing and saw the demos for it, I went, yeah, useless. But now seeing people using it and talking about what they wish it could do, I sort of can see the vision for it. Again, not the company's vision, but a vision for it. And I'm really surprised by that because, again, my initial impression of this thing was, yeah, that's vaporware. And not only does it exist, but there is something compelling about a particular use case for it. So I don't know if that means it's ever going to be what people want it to be. It may never reach that. And being released like this and review bombing this way, I don't know that it's going to have the financial runway to do it. But I'd be curious, if you saw this thing initially, has your view of it changed? Because mine has just a bit later.